Welcome back to the 2-Minute Warning, back on the topic of the NFL today. Today, Jay and I are looking at the top teams that made the best free agent moves so far in the NFL. Of course, there's plenty of teams that have really changed their rosters up. So today, we're looking at our top ones that had the best free agent moves. But before we get into the video, our question of the day is kind of the same topic we're talking about today. We want to hear from you which teams you think, or which team you think had the best free agent move this offseason or up to this point. And then at the end of the video, obviously, you'll know which ones we think had the best. But Jay, give me kind of a rundown of who's in the talk and who really were the best teams so far in free agency.
We have 6 total candidates we will be going over, but a couple honorable mentions before we get into the serious ones. The Miami Dolphins, I like the Will Fuller accusation. The Jets, I like Corey Davis. I like Carl Lawson. Arizona Cardinals made some big and bold moves with J.J. Watt, A.J. Green, Malcolm Butler, and the Washington football team signing Ryan Fitzpatrick, Curtis Samuel, and William Jackson. Those are just some honorable mentions.
And Taylor Heineke.
Yes.
And I wish you mentioned the Dolphins as an honorable mention. I wish they would have done more because I'm a huge fan of the Will Fuller
and they have
acquisition.
the cap space.
Yeah, they do.
6 teams we will go through, though, is the Patriots, the Browns, Giants, Chargers, Bucks, and Broncos. Are number 1 on the list. My AFC favorite, personally, to win or at least make an AFC championship, Cleveland Browns. I love what they did this past year. And to me, they were kind of underrated in this offseason and in free agency. And a lot of people might not have them in their top 6 or top 5, whatever you want to call it. But to me, on offense, they're already perfect. Baker Mayfield has shown that he's matured. He could be their quarterback of the future. We know the backfield set. Offensive line's the highest paid in the NFL, and the receiving game is stout, especially with the healthy OBJ. But that secondary, it was always Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward alone. But now they added a slot corner from the LA Rams and Troy Hill, and a top safety from the LA Rams and John Johnson to help out Denzel Ward. And then on the D-line, to help out Myles Garrett, they added Malik Jackson and Takkarist McKinley, So along with Myles Garrett and Sheldon Richardson getting those 2 guys, this Browns team is going to go to the next level on defense and I think be an AFC championship contender.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about the Browns recently. We just did a video yesterday. We do think that Baker's the future of this program if he's able to play conservative football, which the way the Browns are building the team around him, I think they're absolutely able to do that. They have the best backfield right now in the game. The receiving core is definitely nothing to laugh at. And then on the defensive side of the football, you acquire 2 guys from the best defense in the game, or previously with the Rams. Like you said, it's safety, John Johnson and Troy Hill at slot corner. And then you take your captain on defense, Myles Garrett, you get him help on that D-line, and I think this Browns team is absolutely going in the right direction and have made great moves so far in free agency.
Yeah, and they still got the draft to go. So I really think right now they're almost flawless all around. You're well coached as well, and the coach of the year and Kevin Stefanski. I like this Browns team. Really, there's always some improvement somewhere, but at this point we're just hair picking, just being greedy at this point.
And we could see a return from OBJ that also helps his team out a lot too.
Yeah.
So, or we could see him leave, which also helps. So I think this Browns team is heading in the right direction.
Yeah, 100%.
Who you got
Moving
next?
on, I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos. This is similar to the Browns. A lot of moves were made on defense. Offense, it is a big question mark at Drew Lock, but there was no NFL quarterback in free agency they were going to go out and sign. Like I said, the offense is stout. Melvin Gordon in the backfield, then Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, Cortland Sutton hold down the offense in the run game. But in the secondary and in the defense as a whole of this team, you had Bradley Chubb, but Von Miller, he was a big part of the pass rush last year, and he was a free agent. However, they re-signed him. Justin Simmons, your number 1 guy in the secondary, top safety in the league. You re-signed him. You re-signed Kareem Jackson, another good safety, and you added Ronald Darby and Kyle Fuller, 2 great corners to this Broncos defense. All around, I think they're underrated as well, just because these names aren't huge, but they're big enough to be starters and pretty good corners. This secondary is one of the best in the NFL, and of course, Von Miller is a big name in himself.
Yeah, again, you add Darby, you add Fuller, you re-sign a couple guys, including Von Miller. This Broncos defense is looking very good. Just the funny thing about him is, at least among the teams we have on our list, it's one of the few, or at least the only, or if not the only team that I think had a great free agency period, but won't really be that good in the coming season because of their quarterback. So I know that the Broncos looking good defensively and good receivers, Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant, Jerry Jeudy, and I do think this Broncos team is looking good for the future, but I don't really expect them to be great until they fix that quarterback position, because in Drew Lock, I'm not sold.
Yeah, especially being in that division.
Yeah,
Drew Lock, if he turns out to be good or not, we're really going to say he's going to take a step up and go toe-to-toe with Mahomes or Herbert.
Yeah.
And it's not like Derek Carr's bad himself either, but right now, Drew Lock's the 4th worst quarterback in the division, and you just can't be a playoff team when that's on the line. I mean, look at the Niners. They saw Jimmy Garoppolo was the worst in their division. They went out and made a blockbuster trade. Broncos, if I'm you, I'm also going to keep up these free agent moves, not this offseason moves, I guess, and draft a quarterback at number 9 overall if the talent allows it. But moving on, fan favorite, Los Angeles Chargers, kind of a couple of boring accusations, but absolutely needed on the offensive line. Corey Linsley, top center in the league. Matt Filer, great interior lineman. Jared Cook, you lost Hunter Henry. That could be a knock to the Chargers, but I do think Jared Cook, from a value standpoint, was definitely a good move. Michael Davis re-signed him in the secondary. Did lose Casey Hayward, but you also saved $10 million, releasing him in Ode Abushi, another interior lineman. Overall, couple boring moves on the line, but necessity moves, and Justin Herbert will make it worth your while if you protect him.
Yeah, we've said it before. We say boring just because O-line is an exciting position to deal with, but that's the biggest thing the Chargers have done is add so many guys to their O-line to protect Justin Herbert, really the future of the franchise, and I think that was obviously the biggest issue with this team last year was their O-line, and then you replace a big hole left by Hunter Henry with a veteran tight end who's played for 7-8 teams, or I don't know if that's an exaggeration, but he's played around the league. He's got experience, and even if you end up bringing someone younger in the draft, if you're lucky enough to draft Kyle Pitts, whether he's the starter in Jared Cook or he's just a mentor, I think that helps a lot. So I think the Chargers have done a great job protecting Justin Herbert and then filling in Hunter Henry's hole. So I agree with this 100%.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. I mean, the draft is still yet to come for them to address this, but I'm surprised there wasn't more defensive moves or defensive player moves in NFL free agency by the Chargers. Yeah, they re-signed Michael Davis, but Brandon Staley coming in and be a defensive-minded coach, I really expect him to go out there and sign a guy or two. You know, there's Kyle Fuller on the market before he went to the Broncos, and there's still guys out there, Jadeveon Clowney, Richard Sherman, Steven Nelson, and he could go that route and sign all three of them for all I know, but I'm just surprised this so much has gone towards the offense. But moving on, another big team to probably make the most noise in free agency would be the New England Patriots. They signed Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, probably the top two tight ends on the market. They re-signed a speedy wideout and Nelson Aguilar. A little inconsistent, but a name worthy of having, especially when Cam Newton had nothing. And then on defense, Matt Judon, Devon Godshaw, and Jalen Mills. This team has made the most noise in free agency, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. There was so much going on around social media of Bill Belichick really getting everyone on the market that he could. I think he did a great job, and I think this Patriots team we might see make a jump from 7-9 to 10-6, and possibly on top of the AFC East. They did a great job on both sides of the football. Still missing you're still missing a reliable running back. Not to say Sony Michel's not good, but I guess the Patriots can get a lot of running out of Cam. So between a running back and a quarterback that's running oriented, I think they're fine there. You add pass receivers, you add defensive players. It's interesting they went after Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, one of the two of the better tight ends in the league. So I don't know how they plan to use them all, but I think they really covered every side of the football. Judon, Jalen Mills on defense, and some more, Nelson Aguilar, Hunter Henry, and Jonnu Smith on the offensive side of the ball. And just a lot is going to be determined by whether or not Cam Newton has a good year, because I think last year Cam Newton, no matter how good his team is, I don't think that team's going to be more than 8-8. So I need some more production out of Cam Newton, but they had a great free agency.
Yeah, and I guess we kind of didn't even mention his name, but Cam Newton was a free agent, and they brought him back, so that's a factor. But similar thing to Drew Lock, you got a good roster, but arguably you could make the argument that Cam Newton's the fourth worst quarterback. You know Josh Allen's up there. Zach Wilson might come in and be a top prospect, and Tua's not great by any means, but he's efficient, he's productive, he's safe, and he wins. Games. Cam Newton, neither of them have great numbers, but I'm going to go with the guy that wins in Tua over Cam Newton, so you can make the argument he's the fourth worst, but who knows? If MVP Cam's back, I doubt he will be, but even if he's a shell of that, or 75% of that, we could see this team make a big improvement in his defense. He had nothing last year.
Yeah, we've seen Cam play great football in the past, and I don't think he's out of his prime far enough for that to be off the table. So I do think he'll make a comeback this year. And who you got next, Jay?
Number 5, New York Giants. Another kind of similar situation where everything's going to rely on the quarterback, but they have surrounded him. Healthy Saquon's coming back. Not that he was a free agent, but in the receiving core, you added Kenny Golladay, the number one receiver on the market after Allen Robinson and Chris Godwin got franchise tagged. You added John Ross, a little inconsistent, a little injury prone, but a wild card, roll the dice type of play that could get a burn route and a couple safe, speedy touchdowns if he turns out to be healthy. And then on the defense, you re-signed Leonard Williams, your biggest pass rusher, and signed Adoree Jackson after being released. And back to the offense, Kyle Rudolph as well. So he's got a lot of safe receivers that you signed, in addition to who we already had: Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, Darius Slayton. And the defense isn't bad itself with James Bradbury and Jabril Peppers. So this team all around is ready, but is Daniel Jones.
Yeah, another quarterback team like the the Broncos, yes. Another team like the Broncos that it's just a lot going to depend on the quarterback. And you hit the nail on the head. A lot of the Giants on offense and defense. Going to help this team out a lot. Just going to have to see Daniel Jones play good football. And I think perhaps the biggest part of this equation is Saquon's going to be back. And that's not obviously free agency, but I hope he can stay healthy. And on the same note, John Ross, one of the fastest guys in the league. Can he stay healthy? I do like Kenny Galladay a lot. Then you add Dory Jackson on the defensive side of the ball and a couple more guys, re-sign a few guys. And this Giants team is looking extremely well-rounded. And you just need Daniel Jones to play well. And just the other day or earlier today, recently, Giants GM said they have faith in Daniel Jones to be a Super Bowl quarterback at some point in his career. Of course, if you're going to be the GM of the team, you got to have faith in him. So that's kind of bold. But the Giants have a well-rounded team, and they got faith in their quarterback. So I'd watch out for them to be in the NFC East conversation 100%.
Yeah, it's weird in Drew Lock's defense. Not that I like the Broncos or like Drew Lock, but he's in a tough division with the Mahomes, with a Herbert, and a well-rounded Raiders overall.
Yeah.
They don't suck. They could still win. But in Daniel Jones, it's now. You have to win. You have the roster, and you're in a crap division with 30, 100-year-old Ryan Fitzpatrick, a Dak Prescott who's kind of by himself, and then the Eagles that they don't even know what they're doing. Daniel Jones, you got the talent. It's all on you. Drew Lock, you got a little bit of a break.
Yeah, Daniel Jones could realistically be mediocre and go 9-7, maybe win 10 games and win that division.
Yeah, 100%. Our favorite, last but not least, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not much said, but they brought everyone back. You know, there was a big three of Shaq Barrett, Levante David, Chris Godwin. Are we going to get any of those three back? We got them back and more. Leonard Fournette, Robert Gronkowski, Ndamukong Suh, and more. Tony Brown, that would be the cherry on top. But overall, this Bucs team has pulled off what none of us thought they could do.
Yeah, I got to give the Bucs the best free agency so far because they took a team that won it all and put them all back together with the exception of AB, which I think is still on the table 100%. But you make a good point. The fact that no one else has gotten him yet leads us to believe that it's just a waiting game for the Bucs to get him back. But even if they don't, I like this Bucs team to be a Super Bowl contender 100% next year. So how can you not put them at number one free agency wise if they haven't? They put together a Super Bowl winning team right back for next season. So I like the Bucs the most.
Yeah, I mean after free agency, they got one of the best pass rushers in Shaq Barrett, JPP, Vita Vea, and Ndamukong Suh. Maybe the best linebacker duo. Athletic Levante David, emerging Devin White, who's only 22. Offenses and receiving core, you know how good that is. We got a good backfield duo in Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones. This team is just spotless for the most part. Like I said, and Tony Brown, we'd love to have him back, but even we know we're being greedy at some point. Overall, this team is just amazing.
Yeah, 100%. And that ties back into our question of the day. If I got to give one of these teams the number one spot, I'm going with the Bucs. Jay, who you got?
I got to go with the Bucs. A little bit of bias, but, I mean, they pulled off re-signing a Super Bowl team.
100%, guys. Comment below what you think about the free agency period and who had the best one. But that's all for the video, guys. Thanks for watching. 2 minute